Welcome to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. So here is the construction we've started of the firewood shed. I forgot to do a video of the initial build here, but this is the point we got to last time. Basically got the stud walls up and got the rafters attached to the chimney and got the walls attached to the concrete. So today we're working on getting a little bit of the siding on and then most of the roof up. We didn't have the plywood and shingles we needed initially, so today we're working on getting the sideboards on and that front board, and then just trying to get the angles here matched up. So we're just measuring. We ended up with an unusual angle. It started out at like a 312 and then ended up adjusting, so it kind of ended up being in between. So here we're just getting a final measure, so whenever we go to cut those boards, put them up, it actually matches up with the correct angle. And here we're just checking to see if it will work for both sides. We tried to make it as the same on both sides as possible, but working off of the chimney that isn't perfectly square and our floor isn't, we ended up with a little bit of variation, but we got that up or cut so we could get it up on both sides. And the one thing that we forgot to bring from the house, so all of the stuff that we've used up to this point is stuff that we've cut, with the exception of some treated wood on the bottom that is touching the concrete. Here working on getting the lap siding cut, so doing 4-foot lengths that you can see there, and it will partially cover the block behind the brick. So basically just attaching it at the top and so we want an 8-inch piece showing, which ended up being about 1.5 inches of lap on it. So just went through and did pre-drills on all of these and just using small screws to hold those in and just going right into the studs that we built. As we go through, see, unfortunately I don't have quite enough pieces to get everything done. I get most of the way up the top, or on that back side, since it's the side that's facing the road, and then I have one piece left over that we'll have to do some carving on to get the very top. It will be partially up against the braces, and then we'll be kind of covering at the very top there. So it's kind of what it looks like as we get going. We will make trim pieces
that covers that. There's one in 2x4 width, so we'll make a piece of trim that covers and then comes in over here and covers that, because we'll have little pieces here as well.
And once I got the bottom one on, I was able to just measure up and the 8 inches on each side of the last piece of lap siding, and just mark it there, and just kind of go that route just so it's consistent. And in theory, if the first one's plumb, then the rest of them should be level as well. So before we could put the roof on, needed to get that last piece on the front. So because we forgot to bring a piece of poplar that we cut, ended up taking and getting just a piece from the store and getting it put up so we could go ahead and continue with the roof. So for this, we're trying to use up kind of the scraps of plywood that we have. So even though it's just 4x6, and we could have used kind of one sheet of plywood, and actually we went down a little bit further, so we're close to the 6.5 by about 7. Did about 6 inches of overhang. So you'll see we end up kind of putting up piecemeal parts of plywood, and that's just because we're trying to use up kind of what we have left. So once we get all the plywood up, go ahead and get the drip edge. The roof on the house is all brown, so we kind of trying to match that because from the road you'll see part of the roof of the house and potentially this roof. So we're trying to kind of make it match so that it all looks the same. So once we get the drip edge up, we can start getting the tar paper rolled out. And I'll switch to a camera view up there, but able to just roll out a couple of sheets there.
Just cut off. Yeah, I'm up to or lined up at the bottom of the drip edge. Maybe just cut off the excess after.
Yep.
And this is actually leftover tar paper that we had from doing my sister's garage. Whenever we redid the roof on her garage and rebuilt it, is just leftovers. So it's nice kind of having, we didn't have to buy any additional for this, it's just kind of leftover, which is nice for a small project.
You do get spoiled by the synthetic stuff.
Yes, that one is nice. I will never buy this again.
Yeah, when we redid the roof on the house, we kind of switched to the synthetic tar paper, which is just, I don't know, it was a little bit nicer to work with. Didn't tear quite as easy, and just seemed to be a better material, so that's what we're talking about there. Hadn't used it before doing the house, but it seems to be pretty common now. So go ahead and get the pack of shingles up there, and since it's a pretty small project, just did it by hand instead of having the nailer. Typically we have a pneumatic roofing nailer to put those on, but since we had such small square footage to do here, ended up just doing it by hand. So while he's working on that, I go ahead and start cutting some of the small pieces that will go on the front to get as many of those on as possible. So he can start, or he can work on getting that done as I work on getting those cut. And basically just do the same thing I did at the on the side for the front, is get some of those up. And you can see the neighbors having their fence redone, so that's actually the neighbor who hired a crew to come in and do the fence. So the other thing we want to do here is work on getting the fence replaced with a gate here. So we ended up having to replace a few of the fence boards to start with, and then we'll come in at a later date and finish that out. But basically I had to get in a few pieces of fence so that whenever we put the hardware on for the hinges and everything, it's on the outside. And then you'll notice we just left everything tall, so we measured what the tallest board was going to be whenever we milled these, because these are pine that we milled, and we went through and just went tall so that we can go through and kind of do the scallops, kind of how they have the fence cut on the other part, so we just make it match so that whenever you're looking at it from the front, it looks all uniform. So I have to cut out a little bit off the bottom, and then to get everything to fit, I have to have the paint, or take a little bit off the side. See, we got like 99% of the roof done. We do have like 4 more shingles we need to put up there, along with a piece of flashing against the brick so that we don't have water that can get in behind. So luckily there's no rain forecasted, so we're able to go back in and do that afterwards so we can get this gate in and worry about getting that wrapped up later. I think for now we're going to leave the front open where the door is. If we decide we want to put a door on it, then we can do that later. But I think for now I'm just going to leave it open and then have the other sides closed in. So we did get a Milwaukee nailer about a year ago, and it has been very handy for putting like the fence boards up and stuff like that. It just makes really quick work of kind of getting those up. You notice that we start to get pretty dark here pretty quick, but we need to get this kind of patched up or make it so that it can close up so that the dog that they have can't obviously get out. So it starts to get pretty dark and we end up having to get some flashlights, but basically once we get all that on, we just kind of put a bracket on so that the door will stay closed. It's not the optimal thing. We end up kind of coming back later, putting in a better system for it to latch and getting one side sturdy, but this is something to begin with and we can kind of adjust as needed. So actually come back later whenever I deliver some firewood and put up the little bit we have on that right hand side. This is kind of a look at what we got done today. See the gate and then what we have done on the building.
Okay.
So thank you for watching the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. I'll have another video when we start to finish up the rest of the siding. So hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.